Hello again, soccer fans, and welcome to our second ever edition of the M2 Review, a weekly look at what's happening around the Major Arena Soccer League 2 scene. And we do have lots of excitement to talk about this weekend with the Rocky Mountain Invitational on tap out in Colorado. So that means we are joined by Brett Riding, who is the co-owner of the Colorado Inferno and the Chief Operating Officer of SoccerHaus, the great facility in Colorado Springs that provides soccer fans in the great Rocky Mountain State a way to play year-round. So, Brett, thank you so much for joining us here on the M2 Review, and good luck this weekend. We'll talk in a minute about the Rocky Mountain Invitational, but I want to go back before we look forward because this is actually the Inferno's second year now in M2 after a pretty successful debut in 2019-20, over 500 with a 7-6 record. Just talk a little bit, if you will, about that team last year, the play on the field, and just the introduction to M2, and from your perspective, how it all went.
Sure. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. We were actually part of the inaugural season, and we actually had an opportunity to host the playoffs at the SoccerHaus, and it was fortunate to have Ohio there, and California, San Diego Sockers, and Chicago Mustangs were there. And so it was just a phenomenal experience when we initially took place. But the way that the Inferno came about was with a great group of people. So I definitely have to give some shout outs here and do some name drops. Otherwise, I'll be answering later, right? So we have a board of directors, and the board of directors, we have Dr. Nathan Evans. We have Jorge Troncoso, who's also a coach of the Inferno. We also have Randall Moore. And last but not least, we have John Riding, who's retired colonel, as well as his wife, Linda K. Riding. And so they're the majority owners, and they are exceptional people. And of course, I'm not biased because they're my parents or anything. But yeah, so this cohort, they came together and they created this mantra called Built by Players for Players. And that really resonated with our objective and what we wanted to accomplish. That they sought us out as a board of directors and said, hey, we really want to play for an organization and establishment to where we could have this national recognition. And so the board of directors, because we were sensitive to the fact that we were building this facility for players and it was by players, that, hey, this is absolutely fits our mantra. And we talked to Justin Zuba, we talked to Francisco Rivas, we talked to Jake and Thomas Wong, who was the inaugural MVP when we started out. And Tyson, Thomas Hankies, and all these players that you hear about through the past few years were an active part of creating and establishing the Inferno. We had no idea what we were doing, but it was part of the mission to build a curriculum. And so here we go, building grassroots and pounding the pavement and going to look for sponsors that can support this dream, and this vision. And it just so happened that we were at the right place at the right time and we knew the right people. So definitely you have to give some kudos out to John Wells. I have to give kudos out to Juan and to Jeremy Tafoya, who was the original coach. But we have all these different people that were actively pursuing the indoor environment, and we just continued where they passed the baton to us to grow. And that's exactly what we're doing for the community, for the fans, for the ownership, and most importantly, these players that want a stage to get recognized so they can advance. That's what M2 is this professional development stage, and that's what we're here to do.
What were the maybe 2 or 3 biggest lessons you learned last year? Maybe not necessarily on the field, but off the field, getting the Inferno really rolling and rolling with them too. What did you learn that you can use? Maybe not so much this year with COVID, but certainly going forward in terms of the franchise.
Sure. So. When you own a franchise, it comes with cost. And so that's what I was alluding to before about pounding the pavement and getting that grassroots out there and aligning with these partners like Bristol Brewery and Orthopedic Express and really making sure that we can cover those expenses and those costs. That was a big challenge during that year, is to make sure that we cover the costs and balance that bottom line. And then, of course, it does help when we have a facility that reduces costs to get that practice time in, and then also minimize the reduce of the stadium costs. So that's good. That's the positive. Areas of opportunity again, is just acquiring more partnerships and alliances and introducing a sales manager. So we recognized that fact last year, is that we really need some dedicated positions for the club and for the franchise. And then also we recognize that we need to get out and about in the community, to get to the hospitals, to get to the schools, to interact with the fans, and really provide more support with the clubs and like Parks and Rec and those things, to play with those that are aspiring to become pros, like we're introducing to the community. So giving back to the community is a big objective this year, and that's part of our vision, our plan. But we also have a lot of recognition, and we want these pros to feel like pros. And so a lot of our stuff is catered to recognizing them and making sure that they feel appreciated, and making sure that we get them on the leaderboards, and making sure that we build the hype and recognizing their performance on the turf. So that's what we learned last year, and then as well as making sure that we have a proper feed for broadcasting. Broadcasting, especially so important, as you mentioned, COVID this year. We invested in fiber optics, because several times last year when we were broadcasting, it dropped. So we want to be able to have a better product for the fans to be safe at home. So we will be transitioning that feel and that professional atmosphere with our broadcasting. And so we did make some of those changes in having a DJ, play-by-play commentators, utilizing Andres Trujillo. I mean, he's phenomenal of our Arena Soccer group. Taking note of Blake Schumacher and his production that he did out with the Wings and the Heartland Invitational, utilizing Stephanie and Amarillo with this partnership, because we are co-promoting the upcoming Rocky Mountain Invitational. But really just learning from others and what's already been done, and implementing and integrating that with our franchise this year.
You mentioned Wichita, and you guys started your season recently at the Heartland Invitational. Drew the unfortunate task of drawing the Wings on Friday night, and didn't go quite as you'd planned, but really rebounded with great wins on Saturday and Sunday. How was that experience, and where do you see the team after those 3 games?
Oh, no, it was a fantastic experience. Yeah, of course, the result was less than desirable, but it was our first game back since COVID just annihilated the playoffs and the remainder of the season. And so, yeah, drawing Wichita that first game was an eye-opener, and it was a reality check that, oh, man, we're back in season. We're here to play. Let's test this out. And we learned. I mean, they were coming off a former tournament where they were beating M1 teams, and it just really showed the caliber and the quality that they had with Henry and Tenike, and then their coaching staff and their organization. I mean, they are a solid club, and they are definitely establishing, creating that benchmark of where Inferno needs to aspire to, and eventually once we get into that stadium and follow that model. So they are doing a phenomenal job, and it was a great opportunity, and very proud of the players how they performed this weekend.
And let's talk a little bit about the team. We just saw a goal there by Felix, and looking at maybe 40 years of watching indoor soccer, that might be my favorite goal right there. Never have seen that on a restart after a goal. But tell us a little bit about the team. It seems like you've got a lot of your nucleus back from last year, a lot of your stars, and that has to make the job a little bit easier.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have, of course, me being biased, I feel that our squad, our team, has the best skills. It's now about utilizing those skills. And so that's really the strategy and the tactics that this coaching staff is going to implement, is how to use these skills to win games. I mean, because we have people traveling and commuting down from Denver. We had people coming up from Pueblo. So they are commuting to be part of this club and this organization. And we want to give them that opportunity, and we want to build a fan base, and they're not really pros unless they have those fans. And so you have Justin Zuba, who is a veteran. He's fantastic in the net. We introduced Chris Johnson, who had phenomenal saves, and he's been working on his distribution. So a few of those turnovers could be prevented. So they have the coaching staff talking about that. We're working on set pieces and components, because you have Smiley. We call him Smiley. It's Armando. Has this wicked left foot. I mean, he's just got RPG, just a missile that's coming at you. So I feel sorry for any wall or any keeper that's trying to deflect or block one of his power shots there. Missile coming your way. Then you have, like you saw, the Elias brothers. They are fantastic. They're great leadership, along with Ishmael Morales. You have Darwin. You have Fernando. All that core group that's coming out of Denver. Jorge Velasquez, for example. And then you have the players that are local here in Colorado Springs that do a great job, like Poncho. You have the former Thomas Wong, but he's going to be part of coaching this new alliance that you'll get a sneak preview to. But more specifically, the players that you have here, like Jimmy Wade, really introduced a lot of that experience to some of these younger guys that are coming into the mold. We picked up a couple guys from Spain, and they just are showing right away the impact that they have on their game. So Reynolds is just showing everybody that skill set that he acquired out in Europe. And so it's awesome to see people knocking on the door, being part of this club with all the skill sets. And so I am very, very impressed with the level of talent. And I'm sure I didn't name all the names. I don't have the roster directly. And so I apologize to those when they look at this broadcast. If I didn't mention your name, hey, I'm still thinking about you.
Well, let's talk about the Rocky Mountain Invitational this weekend. A chance for the fans out there to see a lot of this talent up close and personal, or online games this weekend. So just tell us everything we need to know about the Rocky Mountain Invitational, how you can get tickets and attend, or maybe watch it online. And I personally am a little interested in the Upper 90 package that you have, because that sounds like one of the coolest places ever to watch an indoor soccer game.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, the Upper 90 Tavern was just recognized as the locals' best, and so we like to put that on all of our marketing and branding materials because they earned it. So Anita is up in the Upper 90 Tavern, where you'll make you actually have to make a reservation, right? Because COVID here in Colorado required the COVID dial, and you have to be at a certain color in order to be able to have a certain amount of spectators or fans or people in the proximity, within the facility. So right now they're operating on orange. We requested to have that gold star status so we can actually function in yellow, where we can have up to 100 spectators or people in the facility. And then, of course, being compliant with that 6 feet of physical separation. I call it physical distancing. I don't buy into the social distancing. Because we're social people, but it's really physical distancing there. And so we make sure that occurs up in the tavern with 2,000 square feet. And you get this bird's eye view, and you get that live VIP experience when you go up to the tavern and you make those reservations. So when you make those reservations, that includes the tickets. So it's a tabletop of 4. It will have up to 25 tables. So 100 people will have the opportunity, first come, first serve, of course, because you don't discriminate. It's just like, hey, if you're on the ball, you're able to call, maximize it. And then what we're going to rely on after the Upper 90 Tavern, if we're pretty close to maximum capacity, then what we'll do is we offer that $4.99 option on Facebook pay-per-view that they can watch from the safety and comfort of their home, and the whole family can enjoy it. I mean, it's extremely reasonable opportunity to watch a live event, a professional event, and it's just really exciting to be able to do that here in Colorado Springs, in Colorado, anywhere actually, nationwide. It's going to be broadcasted. And then there's also going to be that package deal that you can watch all 5 games over the weekend. And then we'll wrap up that tournament with our co-host, Amarillo, the following weekend in our last game in there. So, yeah, by all means, make reservations with Anita at the tavern, include your tickets, include the growler. And Bristol is going to be there for the halftime show. So we have all these great sponsors with Bristol, Orthopedic Express. Then we also have Heiner. And then Fox 21 News is going to really give us a special the following week and a recap on Living Local. So the community is really coming together this weekend for the Rocky Mountain Invitational. And I really encourage everybody to, if they can't make it, don't get the reservations. That's all right. Let's enjoy a quality broadcast because we'll have 98.5 out there doing the music, right? And then we'll have Mr. Trey as well, who's part of that 98.5, and then DJ Kamikaze. And it's just going to be a fun atmosphere environment. If you're there, if you're not, that's okay. You can pick it up on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, I would be in the Upper 90 if I was in the Colorado area, I promise. So the first time I get a chance to come out and see a game there, you're going to have to save one of those tables for me if you don't mind.
I got you. I got a VIP access for you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, lastly, let's just look ahead a little bit beyond this weekend. And of course, fans can stay up to date on your pages, your social media pages, the m2soccer.com page, or their social media pages. We'll have all the information about the Invitational this weekend, more ticket details, and how you can see it online, as Brett mentioned, on the pay-per-view broadcast. So just pay attention and check back frequently, because there will be updates in the next day or two on all of that. Going forward, though, Brett, with M2, kind of new leadership, new structure to the sport, just your view of all of that, and how it will hopefully benefit the Inferno in their growth, and the league and the sport in its growth. How do you see that unfolding over the next few years?
So I'm absolutely excited, elated. We have bonded and banded together with this great backbone, as well, reference it as, with ASG and with Rocky Mountain PSP, and then Dr. Sev, and this core group between all of them, and then adding the commissioner with a lot of experience, Chris Conomides, and then Andrew Ross being the deputy role, and having those resources and that support, and to make sure that people are held accountable, and that the vetting process occurs as we acquire new interests and we acquire new demographics and markets. I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't speak highly enough of Arena Soccer Group, and I know them from our weekly communications, and of course interacting with them because they have their clubs. But just everything from the hierarchy and how it's being established that's affiliated with this new professional pyramid, pathway for all the players and for people to join, it's absolutely exceptional. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. But it just doesn't stop there with the excitement. These people have the intestinal fortitude to drive forward and meet these goals. I mean, with these youthful executives, they have the ability, the energy, the tenacity, and the delegative power and ability to make sure that it doesn't fail. These guys have a refuse to lose attitude, and they share that commonality and that passion to make it happen. And that's what it's all about, is to make it happen for their communities. And they have the right intent, and they have the ability to move forward and drive it forward and be successful. And I'm privileged and honored to be that low man on the totem pole, and these big shoes of giants that have so much experience. And so I learn from them every day. Absolutely.
Well, it takes a team. There's no question. And don't sell yourself short. You're a major portion of that. And it is exciting because being around the sport for the decades that literally I have, I've not seen what's in place now ever really in the sport. And to do it all during this COVID pandemic and lay that foundation with that as the backdrop makes it even more exciting to know what can happen in the future when we get back to, hopefully normal times, if you will. So, Brett, thank you for joining us here on M2 Review this week. We wish you a lot of luck with the Rocky Mountain Invitational, you and Amarillo doing the co-hosting of that, as you said, and that'll be a lot of fun. We'll look forward, I will, at least, to watching it online. And we hope fans out in the greater Denver and Colorado Springs area will get a chance to get out and see some great indoor soccer as well. So good luck, Brett, the rest of the way. We may later this season, and we, of course, will be back next Thursday, with a new edition of the M2 Review. Until then, have a great week, everybody.